just want to point something out here, Paul, well, and Greg as well, and anyone who's listening.
Yeah.
Sure. You mentioned the Great Resignation. I feel like that has now been completely wiped away.
Okay, they're back.
Well, for a while, there were just 5 million people that dropped out of the labor market, right? Now, if you look at what we have now in terms of total employment in America, total U.S. employees on non-farm payrolls, we just got those numbers out. We now have 32,000 more workers than we did in February of 2020. So right before the recession. We've finally, for the first time, gotten back above pandemic levels.
That's interesting.
In terms of total head count, basically.
So we got everybody back. All right. Because that baffled me. A, who are these people? B, where did they go? And C,
what are they doing for money?
Exactly. I mean, how much can the stimmies continue to support people? Let's talk to somebody who does this stuff for a living. Shannon Gabriel, Managing Director of Leadership Solutions at TBM Consulting. Shannon, from your perspective, from working with your clients, your employers, how good is the labor market out there?
I don't think it's good at all, actually. I think that we're still struggling. We're still seeing a struggle within the middle market. The groups that we work with, the companies that we're working with at TBM, fall anywhere between 300 million and 700 million. And I can't think of one. Actually, there is one. We have one client that's a manufacturing company that has gone through some right-sizing. The rest of them are still struggling to find labor and to keep it.
Why do you?
She said right-sizing.
I know.
I don't know if that's acceptable, Shannon. You mean they fired people or what?
So, Shannon, I mean, is that because they're not offering enough money? Is that because people don't want to work? Is that because they can't find people with the right skills? Yeah.
So some of it relates back to the PTSD that occurred from the pandemic. So if you look at the airline industry and the service industry, hospitality, they went through massive layoffs right away, forced retirements, furloughs, and as they started to try to rebound and bring that labor back, that PTSD kicked in and they went to a safer market where they knew they could be stabilized. And so some of those industries have had a harder time to return to those normal levels, one, because of pay. A lot of companies went through a quick increase in their wages right out of the gate. Some of them are still struggling to get to where it's a competitive market. And I don't mean a wage war where we're paying over, but just to be competitive in the geographic territory that they're in.
In terms of the money, I mean, we do continue to see raises, so I guess are employers offering more? The companies that you cover, are they having to continually offer more to get staffed?
They have, especially when you're talking within the leadership ranks. Those have seen a significant improvement, and those employees and candidates own the market. What you've also, they don't talk about it within the press, but we do hear a lot right now are counteroffers. So especially within the leadership ranks, as those key stakeholders are trying to make a move, companies are throwing an enormous amount of money at them to keep them on staff.
Shannon, I guess in recent weeks we've seen some large and mid-sized and small tech companies said they'll slow hiring, maybe let some workers go. What do you read into that?
We've seen that across the decades. They typically can expand and contract their workforce a lot easier than the middle market can. And so when we see those talks occurring, I think that they may slow down a bit. They may go through minor layoffs on a frequent basis, but I don't think that it's indicative of a recession. And I don't know that it's necessarily indicative of their financial performance.
Well, and it's just, headlines from big, somehow controversial companies like Coinbase or Robinhood that we hear about. In terms of the markets that you serve, are there certain industries that have an easier time? Are there certain industries that just can't get staffed?
Manufacturing and distribution, I think, certainly have still been struggling to come together and reach the normal levels. Distribution, certainly, if you walk into any warehouse and you talk to the warehouse manager, supervisor, they'll tell you that they not only can they not get people to come in and stand 10 hours a day because they don't want to, but they also, once they're there, they'll have the quick quits, and they'll return the next day, but not the day after that. And so those industries, I think, are certainly struggling. Hospitality, service, if you've been in the restaurants in the last, month, 2, 3, 6 months, you'll see that you have half the restaurant open, but you're going to have an hour and a half wait because they can't staff accordingly.
Yeah, it's interesting. During the pandemic, Shannon, women disproportionately bore the brunt, it seems like, of some of the layoffs there. And Greg Jarrett from Bloomberg News just forwarded me a Bloomberg News story about how women drove the job gains as the U.S. labor market surges back in July. So maybe some women getting back into the marketplace. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Absolutely. And I think the reason behind that, too, is because women predominantly were the ones that stayed home when they're homeschooling their kids, and they've got to make sacrifices with daycare on what choices they're going to make because of the pandemic. So now that has stabilized and normalized itself, they're able to return back in a quick fashion and get back into their career.
All right, Shannon, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate that. Shannon Gabriel, Managing Director of Leadership Solutions at TBM Consulting. Red headline.